So since I have not obtained my first teaching job yet, for this project I have chosen to reflect on the procedures and interactions related to personnel in a college athletic department. So once I finish school, my goal is to become a physical education and health teacher. Once I get some experience, I would love to be at the collegiate level and hopefully someday work in college athletics. So doing interviews and research on a current college's athletic department has really been beneficial in understanding how the process works with being able to bring in a quality staff. Fort Lewis College is a Division II college in Durango, Colorado. I currently have a friend who is Assistant Athletic Director for Facilities and Operations, which is what kind of brought me to researching their department. When looking at how Fort Lewis College recruits quality coaches, I found that the biggest piece to recruiting is to use networks and connections to find potential candidates for the position. They also post the position on several platforms, promoting the position so that it is available to a wide variety of individuals. The search committee then acts just like a college coach would in recruiting quality players. They look for coaches who carry themselves in a professional, ambitious, and determined manner who can take their programs to the next level. The department will then create the requirements and qualifications in order to apply for the position. They want qualified individuals leading their programs who have experienced success at their previous positions. So some proposed practices I found while doing research included choosing a diverse search committee, knowing the legal requirements, having a plan, communicating effectively, avoiding costly mishires, and providing equal opportunities for all. So diversity is so important, especially in our world today. Women and minorities should be well represented in search committees and not just one race or one gender being represented. As for legal requirements, making sure there are no personal questions being asked, such as religious affiliations, marital status, sexual identity, etc. So in order to avoid costly mishires, the department should not rush this process, especially if the previous coach leaves abruptly with the season right around the corner. It is important to be efficient with time, but still making sure you are hiring the best candidate that can create success within the program. The department should be specific about needs and desires when searching for potential candidates. Finally, I would recommend really getting to know the potential candidates by spending time and asking questions about their philosophies. So how will those proposed practices enhance the current practice? So I believe that creating diversity within a search committee will allow for an equal representation in which will create a diverse athletic department. Creating a consistent process will allow it to be organized and efficient. This will make the process easier and smoother for everyone involved. If potential candidates feel supported and wanted throughout the search, it will attract quality coaches who feel confident in coming in right away and making a difference. Another big piece is the culture among coaches. If potential candidates see that there is a positive culture across the board, they will want to be a part of an atmosphere that they can thrive in. In interviewing the Director of Athletics and the Assistant Athletic Director for Facilities and Operations, I found out how they conduct their interview process. The athletic department will create a list of interview questions and which will be used for all candidates. They will then put together the hiring committee, which consists of all athletic directors and a coach. The coach will just depend on what position the interview is for. They will then discuss with the search committee on possible candidates and then conduct their first rounds of interviews via phone, interactive video, or on campus. The Assistant AD for Communications is in charge of staying in touch with the candidates and being available to answer any questions they may have throughout the process. Once the first rounds are conducted, the hiring committee will narrow the pool down to about 2 or 3 candidates. Those candidates will be invited to come to campus and interact in a campus tour, dinner, and then will proceed with a final interview. The hiring committee will then choose the final candidate and then offer the position. So some proposed practices that I found while doing research included clearly defining and documenting selection criteria, having interview questions before the start of the process, asking all candidates the same questions, using the same types of interviews for all candidates, whether that be over the phone, interactive video, or on campus, and then using personal judgment instead of a scoring system, and then finally documenting everything and asking for feedback. So how will those proposed practices make the process stronger as a whole? So documentation will hopefully allow the department to avoid any controversy when it comes to the selection process. Again, we talked about the legal aspects, so documentation will serve as evidence in doing the right thing throughout the process. Using personal judgment will allow the hiring committee to spend the interview judging their character, professionalism, attitude, determination, etc., instead of trying to match them to a number. Just like in school, a test score does not always define a student. Some students may struggle with test-taking skills, but doesn't mean that they are not smarter than the rest of the students in the class. I think receiving feedback to improve the process is a huge way to enhance their current practice. A lot of people may shy away from receiving feedback, especially from people who do not end up getting hired. However, this could make the process better and more efficient by asking for multiple perspectives on how the process works. So as we transition into coach induction and orientation, the process starts off by the Director of Athletics sending the new hire their contract. Once they get acceptance from the candidate, the department will contact the players and staff and introduce them to the person who will be leading their program. They will then work together with HR to get all onboarding paperwork completed, which includes tax forms, benefit package, insurance, moving expenses, payroll, etc. They will then conduct a press conference to announce the hiring to the public and then conduct interviews with local news outlets. The department will assist the new coach in moving to town and then will meet to discuss job duties and establish short and long-term goals for the program. So for coach induction and orientation, my advice would be to protect systems, processes, and the culture in which will maximize the caliber of coaches. A huge piece in inducting anyone, anywhere, is to be overly supportive and welcoming. Honestly, accepting a new position is very nerve-wracking, but if you go into an atmosphere that is overly supportive and welcoming, it allows this transition to be more comfortable for anyone that is new. I would also recommend creating an online program for all onboarding paperwork to be done prior to the new hire getting on campus. Finally, take pride in organization and effective communication. Make sure there is no inconsistency in words or actions. So how will those proposed practices help enhance the current practice that is in place for coach induction? I believe that it will create an organized and smooth transition into the community for the new hire. They will feel overwhelmed with the amount of support, which will make them feel at home. This will automatically set the coach up for success as soon as they step foot on campus by having the resources and guidance to be successful. Finally, doing paperwork on their own time can allow plenty of time for them to look things over and develop any questions they may have for administration. When a new hire gets on campus, it can be very overwhelming. By having all of the paperwork already finished before they get there will allow them to not be so overwhelmed with things to do. So once the new hire gets settled in on campus, the department serves as a mentor. At Fort Lewis College, they take pride in being involved and passionate about the programs and coaches in which make up the athletic department. They are constantly around during games and practices, which allows them to create a unified and supportive culture. All directors have open-door policies for all coaches to discuss any problems or questions that may arise. The Director of Athletics will meet with the coach in the off-season monthly to discuss updates to the program, as well as short-term and long-term goals. The AD will also conduct in-season touch-ins to discuss how the program is doing, as well as any questions or concerns. A big piece of mentoring I found through conducting my interview with the department was that they encourage all coaches to be involved in coaching clinics and/or have a veteran coach on campus that serves as their mentor. One of my favorite pieces of their mentoring program at Fort Lewis College was that the department includes all the coaches in out-of-work outings such as golf trip, hiking, going on the lake, biking, etc. So some proposed practices I found while doing research for mentoring included setting up a mentoring program for new hires and not just encouraging it, setting goals and being clear with expectations, providing coaches with positive support and feedback, building relationships with other coaches and administration, and then creating trust. So how will those proposed practices enhance the current practice in regards to mentoring at Fort Lewis College? So I believe that having a set mentoring program will provide new hires with support and guidance. Most importantly, it will allow new coaches to build relationships and meet other coaches and administrators on campus. By talking and meeting with other coaches, they are able to meet and talk about ideas and systems that seem to work well for the programs and athletes. Finally, it will create a unified culture in which everyone is there to help each other instead of compete with each other.